In this episode, we'll be hearing from an expert to give his insights to episodes 4 and 5. His name is Clem, and he is working as an educator and an advocate responder for mental health and well being. He has worked with FEU Alabang as a teacher for humanities and social sciences subjects and had been an instructor for psychology. At present, he is finishing his academic subjects for his graduate studies at BLSU Manila and hopes to become a counselor or therapist in the future. Lem enjoys weekend going to parks and enjoying food carts, and among his favorite places are museums and places of historical value. And he regards himself as a teacher of knowledge and student of life. He is also a work in progress and finds enjoyment in understanding people's narratives. Thanks so much, Lem, for gracing us today. How are you?
Good evening, Jeff. I'm very much fine. I just had my dinner, kaya medyo, yun, pumped up.
Good for you. Ako
Energized,
wala.
gano'n.
Kape lang. Kape-kape.
Naku,
Alright.
dapat kumain na. Kasi baka magkaroon ka ng case ng hyperacidity like mine.
Meron ako, pero I'd rather coffee lang muna to start my day.
Oh,
Mamaya kain. Sige, let's
sure.
get started. So in the case of Una, she's wondering why delayed ang emotional responses niya. And what are your
Mhm.
thoughts on it?
Well, kasi, if we're going to look at Una's case, first, I'd like to say muna, no, how Una handled herself during those times and how she spoke about it during the whole episode. She's been very insightful and someone if she's going to come to a therapist, talagang matutuwa yung therapist because she knows her her emotions, her states very well. So, with regards to the question of emotions, kasi it's always rooted to coming from a perspective na medyo therapeutic, no? Yung tinatawag natin cognitive behavioral aspect or approach. Most of our emotions and behaviors, are actually rooted to our thoughts. Sometimes these thoughts are so strong, and sometimes these thoughts are, beside from being strong, it's also irrational or yung parang may term sila dito yung maladaptive thoughts. We have these thoughts that made us feel not good about ourselves, no. At some point during the episode, she was even saying yung should haves, yung must haves niya. I could have been like this, I could have been like that. And I think that is a strong value that holds on to her emotional responses. The same goes with her behavioral responses.
Okay. And so why are those memories strong? Because of the value of how she perceives those things as valuable to her life.
Yes, exactly. Parang may context dun tayo ng tinatawag na investment size. And not just that, actually memories hold a lot of tawag ito, potential insights for someone. No, it's as if we're talking about the moment you are delivered to this world. Yung birthday, kahit hindi natin siya maalala yung process, but every time that we think about our birthdays, it's really important, and it accompanies a strong emotion of happiness and elation. Pero of course, experiences and narratives in our lives changes throughout. It's not something kasi na static, no? It's always dynamic na um, one way or the other, you'll experience something that will make you also sad. Kahit naman this day or this particular event is joyful. And that's the thing kasi with emotions. Emotions are states, are moods. So it doesn't really, parang tawag nito, it doesn't have a fixed time until when are you going to experience it and how long you can enjoy that emotion. And I think yung sa sinasabi din ni Una, somehow yung emotions, no, yung emotions yung hindi niya ma-take, hindi niya ma-process agad, no?
So is this a normal type of reaction, or are there any tests that she has to take in order for her to get a proper diagnosis?
Actually, if you're going to look at, no, um, processing her situations, her emotions, her feelings. No, if we have a good grasp of what we are experiencing, like for her case, she's very insightful. She is very much aware of where she is in her bubble, in her spiral. No, the thing with it is that it's always good that we have that awareness, that sense of awareness. And it also means that if we are aware of that particular state or situation we are in, we have to eventually have the capability to help ourselves. The problem is, um, do we need to seek help from other people, or can we, how do I say this? Can we help it or soothe on our own? No, I remember Una saying that she thinks she might consider going to a counselor, but yung pag-uusap niyo pa lang is quite enough, no, para magkaroon ng clarity, and then parang ano, actually it's cathartic. But in terms of diagnosing, it's always difficult to look for tests, psychological tests, if we are going to look at that aspect, no. Some experiences kasi are maladjustments or maladaptive behaviors that we can go through by talking to someone, or just by going to our significant others, our circle of friends. It could be possibly healed. But if we're going to look at really the idea of diagnosing such, it would be a more on the question, how does this particular experience impairing me? May problema na ba? Am I finding it difficult to adjust to work? Am I finding it difficult to connect to people? Or on the darkest part of it, am I hurting people physically or emotionally? Or am I hurting myself emotionally and physically? But siguro makakatulong din kay Una na mag-take siya ng mga personality tests. So she'll have good insight about what kind of characteristic yung overarching values ang meron siya.
So I've seen a lot of psych tests or personality tests rather.
Mm,
Um, medyo I'm not sure. Probably because I haven't really immersed myself in it.
mm,
Um, is there really science behind those personality tests? Kasi parang ang dami. May BuzzFeed pa nga yatang personality test. But I
mm.
just wanna know the authenticity of those tests.
Okay, nakakatuwa yung pag-usapan, no? Kasi when it comes to psychological assessment, testing really helps. But we also have to understand that not all tests could provide us good results or could provide us reliable data about someone. Kasi what we're looking for is that if this test is going to give more meaning or depth dun sa na-experience ng tao, so that we could provide some interventions na appropriate for her. But in terms of personality tests, I do admit that there are tests out there na medyo unreliable. But we could look at certain tests provided by, of course, yung mga legal providers or yung mga talagang official providers ng psychological tests. Ang problem kasi sa mga psychological tests is that it gives labels to not really how, who we are rather. Parang, kasi, ang sarap kasi sa feeling. This is what is explained by most of my college professors back then, that the truth about personality or personality tests is that it gives us a label on what we experience, and parang it gives us a sense of solidarity with other people that may kapareho ako, may ganun ako. But the thing is, it's not always the case, because personality is somewhat defined by a lot of factors. The science of personality tests is very rigid, no? Kaya nga may ibang tests dyan na medyo questionable yung reliability uh, through testing, no? Yung pagka-craft. Kasi if I'm going to go overview the process of test development, talagang magiging technical tayo. But the idea here is that some personality tests have to go through constant discussions about its concept. Like, for example, we have oceans, yung big five personality factors. That is one of the theories in personality na considered as a great tool for us to understand um, personality. But tawag dito, ang idea kasi nun is that we are there are five factors that inhibits, no, a universal context of personality. siguro yung personality tests like MBTI, that's one of the, a lot of psychologists would refute its reliability to generate tawag to, accurate or reliable data about someone, simply because most psychologists refute its reliability from the theory where it gets its idea from. Just to have a background about MBTI, it gets its idea from Carl Jung, a known psychoanalyst to analyst kasi umalis siya sa grupo nila ni Freud eh. But the idea is the reason why it is receiving that kind of criticism, it's because it is really unable to give consistent results. Na halimbawa, I took this test, I could be an INFJ, and then the next day or few weeks after, I could be a different I could have different personality type based on MBTI. So yun yung tinitignan ni MBTI. MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Inventory, is also a good personality test. And I think, just to share, we also use that in our grad school to explore our personalities, use it for educational purposes because it's available online and it builds really on scientific data. Kaya the science on tests is actually with regards to the numbers and the theory that is backed up by it.
Right, that's interesting. So, because I'm seeing that a lot, no, especially on Twitter, a lot of profiles would have those, their personality types. They would put it on their bio. But aside from Una, I guess a lot of people, especially in this pandemic, are really going through something, and given the current situation, it might be difficult for them to seek help from a professional. Would you recommend them taking those tests and taking action on it?
First of all, coming from the legal aspect, legal explanation on that, we cannot take personality tests on our own. Um, coming from my field of work, no, and of course, the profession I hope to work in the future too. Psychological testing is part of psychological assessment, and the only person who is tawag nito, appropriate and allowed to do such, no, is someone who is an expert in that field, in that test, per se, like psychometricians, no, but psychometricians aren't able to really provide they are not entitled to provide the interpretation and explanations kasi they are mere of administration lamang ng tests, no, and scoring also. But the interpretation on it and the planning for intervention and such, or utilizing the results for purposes thereof of the client's intervention or intervention to the clients, that would be for the psychologist na. So I wouldn't suggest taking it personally, no, but I would suggest going to your counselor, your therapist, your psychologist or psychiatrist, no, and asking them not really a referral, no, but rather asking them the question: if I take this, would it help in our therapeutic relationship? Would it add depths to what we are working on?
Okay, so if that is the case, like I said earlier, it might be difficult for some to seek help, professional help. How would you think they should process these things, especially for Una's case? She's having these episodes, and I try to be a good friend, be there all the time, but just in case that I'm not available, or there is no way for her to contact me or anyone else. What can she do to elevate those feelings and emotions?
Yun. Alam mo, Jeff, the good thing about what we have right now, of course, in our community, we are working towards acknowledging mental health as an important aspect of our overall health, of our overall well-being, rather. And that's why certain policies and programs by the government are statutory present para tulungan yung mga tao na hindi maka-reach out. So, and also, I think there are already some volunteer groups who are working on it. So if we no, if we are finding it difficult to look for our friends during this time, no, kasi probably we have this kind of thinking na I don't want to burden you with my burdens, no. There's some sort of that idea to some of the clients why it's difficult for them to coming up to someone, eh. But what they have to know is that there are groups, there are individuals who are willingly going to give their time. We have the Hope Hotlines. We have uh, we have a lot of groups that offer support groups. No, we have organizations that provide free psychological consultations and services. But the least siguro for Una is to really increase her awareness on what is her emotional states. Kaya ito yung madalas na gusto din ng mga ginagawa ng therapists is to keep on track of your daily activities, and then you look into parang you are building up like a journal or a diary where you put your thoughts, your emotions, and you put your experiences for the day. And somehow when you direct, no, your energies or your thoughts towards that, it gives some sense of clarity. That's why I like what Una is saying towards the end of the video, that she's keeping on track of what she is experiencing, because that's one way of also looking for ways on, not really ways, looking at the gravity of the situation you are in. And then afterwards, kasi if someone, you know, is an expert here, they would utilize that data, or they would utilize that tool that you had for us to be able to understand sa continuum from worst to good condition, nasaan siya. And then we could know what interventions could we do. Does she need psychotherapy, or does she need counseling at the least? Yeah. So I think for people out there, if they can't seem to find someone, even or they find it uh, fearful or scary or anxious invoking, kasi minsan anxious invoking din ang paglapit sa isang professional. It also matters that they try to do what we call a self-soothing. Um, andyan yung, yun nga, yung writing, productive coping mechanisms. And this is one I like about YouTube, is that psychoeducation and skills training is present. Pwede mo siyang i-click, pwede mo siyang i-search doon, and it could really help you a lot.
Got it. Now, you did mention something about people who refuse to to share because it's part of the therapy for themselves because they don't want to feel that they are transferring or they're burdening someone from their burdens. Um, how do you think? Let's say in a household you have your family members, right, or probably you have someone else in the same household and you notice these things that a certain person is going through something but he's not or she's not saying anything, someone who is not licensed or a professional mental health advocate, how can they deal with these people without probably they might trigger something wrong, baka mapasama pa yung conversation instead of helping that person out.
The good thing about having people surround you is that they could serve as your social support. But we cannot always ask everyone that we know to be our social support. And for people who doesn't really have that background, though, um, the simple idea or sense of empathy is very important. You know? Like you being there for Una, or you being there for any friends of that any friends you have that is struggling, no? Hindi naman kailangan na parang mag-develop ng severe symptoms or ng actual disorder para masabi mo na nandito lang ako palagi. Even in tough times, we could be there for someone. No, what we have to understand as people is that um, we should not be dismissive about other people's thoughts and emotions. No, this is what I like about also what Una is verbalizing last time, eh, that you should not deny your own emotion. But of course, minsan kalaban natin ang sarili natin, eh. no, and somehow we are wired like that because we thought it's the best, not really the best, it's the effective coping mechanism for us, but somehow it does not, it only suits on the negative emotions or feelings, but it does not make any progress, no. But for people out there, we should not be dismissive of someone's emotions, experiences, and feelings. The key here is to learn the skill of empathy and empathic listening. If we don't have the time to listen, hindi naman kailangan kasi na ura-urada, pakinggan natin yung tao. But let's just make the person feel na when I'm free, when I'm available, I could give you my time. And even if I can't give it to you right now, no, know that I will be here and know that I am caring for you, no? Because we have to, parang ano kasi dito, yung sense of solidarity, that we are all humans and that we don't have to look at the plates of one another on who has more or who has less. What we have to look is that our plates are just similar. The differences are the food and the amount that we have here. And the question should not focus on how much do I have, but rather on how much I'm willing to give. Yon. So I guess it all starts with empathy.
So what you're saying is, if I am a person who noticed someone na going through something, I should not actively reach out to that person, but just make them feel, based on my behavior and my, how I deal with them, just make them feel that they're welcome to speak up, but not push them.
Yes. Ay, yun din ang isa sa mga problem natin eh. Sorry. The other side naman of our spectrum as a friend na parang kapag alam natin na may problema siya, gustong-gusto agad natin malaman. We have to understand that the readiness to open up and discuss is also a factor for the intervention, or I wouldn't say really intervention, but or siguro for the betterment of the condition or of her emotions. Kasi if someone is not really prepared to open up, ang nangyayari kasi is we tend to rush things and we go overboard about giving unsolicited advices. We tend to give, actually ito yung problem eh, we tend to give advices that are applicable to us but not applicable to her situation. No, that's one of the things that we have to remember, that whatever we give to the person, it is only as good for our case, no. But the decision whether it's going to be good for someone's case or for someone's situation, hindi tayo yung magde-define nun. Ang magde-define nun is the person. So what do we have to do here? We have to build her confidence. We have to build her the insight. We have to build her the courage to eventually step up, talk to someone, and eventually, the last thing that we should do is to listen, no? And I think that's one of the things na kaya nating gawin. It's not really difficult to connect with such. Pero lalo na sa panahon ngayon, I think naging clear din sa atin talaga na the last year and even until now, pero mas medyo maayos naman yung ngayong taon compare last year, no? There's really difficulty in connecting with people.
Got it. Another thing that Una mentioned is that, aside from her past experience, is that she feels that her personality is, she's less of a people oriented. She can be blunt and straightforward. People would perceive her as being harsh, and she felt that it kind of branched out, or that's the reason why she's not getting the career that she wants, because of that. So would you recommend her taking action on it? Is there a therapy that she can take or undergo in order for her to, I'm not sure if the proper term is to correct this. So yeah, any thoughts on that?
I guess the key here is to first assess her experience. Does it make her does her relations to her coworkers really affect her much that it makes her a part of her life impaired? Like sa work ba, it does it really affect her into becoming tawag nito, a productive one? Yun kasi yung parang in the therapeutic process, titignan natin kung gaano yung epekto ng mga nangyayari at nararamdaman mo sa sitwasyon mo. So, I think the least that we could do is or I don't like to sound na ano kasi na nagbibigay ng ano eh ng therapy or what eh. But the least that she could always do is to assess herself and then reflect on what other people say about her. If it meant correcting, we have to ask if the correction of that actual behavior or characteristic would benefit everyone, no? Kasi we have to also note that if that is how she is, then it's probably anchored onto a deeper, no, sense of self. Like it is her core belief about herself. It's how she is. And the difficulty kasi ng pagbabago is that it doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually. And in therapy, ito yung gustong-gusto kong sinasabi about change eh. It is slow, gradual, and always consistent. What we mean by that? Mabagal siya in a sense kasi na yung tinitignan natin dito is time frame. And ano ba yung inaayos natin dito? These are the behaviors that we have, at least coming from a cognitive behavioral perspective. We are trying to learn, no? Kasi behavior can be learned, no? If some of our behaviors are causing more problems, then probably we could change it for the better. And the good thing about the idea is that if we learned it that way, we can also unlearn it. And we can also learn new ways for us to be able to become a better person. On Una's situation, I don't think that ano ba? I don't think that she has to really change herself. I think that this only calls for a transactional communication to whom she is talking to, or who is she conversing to. Because I think see, she has a great deal of how she know, or not really how, who she really is. She understands who she really is. The least thing that is happening on her is that she gets clouded by other people's criticism, perhaps. Because I think the overarching situation or scenario here is her feelings towards work and other people. Kasi madalas ko naririnig sa kanya, I'm frustrated about who I am now, what I have now, and what I can do. So I think it's also related to career.
And that is so nice to hear, Lemuel. Kasi I share the same behavior with Una. And medyo pareho kasi kami. We're very passionate when it comes to work. And if we know something is right, ilalaban talaga namin yan. Kasi hodang boss ka pa, alam mo yun, lalabanan ka namin. Pero I think what you said is, just because you think you're right, that doesn't mean that you have to ram your way
Yes,
when dealing with
exactly.
people. So,
Mm-hmm.
parang wala, siguro at least for me, I just think that it's kind of unfair. Kunwari, alam
Mm-hmm.
na natin ito yung tama, pero ikaw yung
Mm-hmm.
boss eh, ikaw yung nandyan eh. Di ba dapat mas
True.
alam mo to? Parang may ganong injustice
Mm-mm.
kang nararamdaman.
Yes. Actually, ito mga injustices sa loob ng workplace, it adds up to our stress. In worst case scenarios, it also adds up to our burnout. Yun yung isa din sa nakikita ko na possible na na-experience ni Une. She was saying that she don't want to work as a BPO anymore. She wants to I think explore kasi hindi niya naman nabanggit or baka hindi ko lang napakinggan ng klaro kung ano yung gusto niyang i-pursue should she leave the VPO. But the only reason for her staying on that on her job is that it pays well compared to other occupations out there. But the thing is kasi when it comes to the workplace and environment, the problem here is the not just the tasks, because somehow the tasks are bearable eh, no, the tasks are bearable, but it's not, somehow it's not bearable to work with people who is inconsistent or incongruent to how you work, no. And dito papasok yung idea ng comparison na why am I doing why do I feel that I do more but I get less, somehow like that, no. And ang nakikita ko lang siguro dito na problem is, if the environment doesn't allow fairness and yung tulad ng sinabi mo, justice, no, towards their workers, their employees. Kasi aminin natin, there are no perfect working environments, no, and then even I'm also going through that rough time of realizing such. No? I have plans of leaving my current uh, school right now, but that's just for the next no topic. Pero let's focus on what we have right now. And I think, yeah, I think if we don't have a control over the situations, that's where we feel no that we are put in a jeopardizing uh, scenario or situation. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot to tell to put this into context. Yung regarding kasi sa problem with the bosses and such, no. Na ano, we have to remember that in the workplace may mga certain measures and gauges naman dyan para i-work out yun. But if there's no, then the question is this working environment healthy for me?
Got it. And out of curiosity lang, Lem, from what you've studied and based on your experience, why is that like a normal um I'm not sure if the correct term is behavior, but reaction of people. If someone is vocal, they feel that that is a toxic behavior.
Actually, for me, if someone is vocal, it's a platform or an opportunity to improve the current conditions that we have. But ito yung nakikita ko dyan na problem kasi eh. It's not how you said it sometimes eh. It's how it is perceived by the other people listening to you. Because sometimes, or actually not sometimes, most of the time, we treat criticism as an attack to our self or to our personality, to our work or whatever we do. No, we feel that it's an attack when in fact it's actually not. No, the purpose there, which is that we are giving. No, we are just being vocal because we have ideas that possibly could help our situation. No, but the thing is, some people treat it as an attack, and while we can't control other people's thoughts and emotions on that, um, the best thing that we can do in such situations or the resolution is how can we how can we effectively deliver this message na 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 nakaayon dun sa taong pagsasabihan natin. Then again, babalik tayo sa idea that it's going to be transactional.
So parang it stems from ego, basically.
Yes,
Oo.
I think it's also with regards to the power a person has inside the organization, the authority, ika nga.
Okay. Kasi for me and Una, we'd rather hear your thoughts around things. If there's something that I'm not doing right, then let me know freely. Parang nga mas preferred pa nga namin na you say it bluntly kasi I know that you're not sugarcoating it and we will just get the raw message of it so that we can improve. Pero yun nga, when we do that to other people, it can come across as we are attacking them. And you're right, they might think that it's a personal attack. So probably it's a two-way street. It's going to be how we
Yes.
vocal people communicate and how those, I'm not sure what to label them, sensitive people or egoistic, joke lang. So I guess the viewers can understand where I'm coming from. Na
Mm-mm.
it's a two-way street and it's really
Yes.
matter of compromising.
Mm-mm. Yeah, yeah. But I think ang pwede din kasi ditong solution is that if we have the control or the authority to introduce new policies and programs, what we could do is to actually ask them to participate in trainings, no, to participate in tawag ito, seminars that focuses on effective communication, no, in the workplace. If not naman, we could also focus on sensitivity trainings, but that is usually addressed by the HR eh. Kaya minsan iisipin mo din, the HR or the company is also doing something, but the problem is, are the people also, or your employees really grasping the idea of such? But we're not saying na ang may kasalanan dito, ang may fault dito is the employees, ha. We also have to understand that we really have to also build a good organizational climate culture within, no, within the workplace or any groups that we have, no. Basta pagsasama-sama sa unity ng people, dapat we have this sense of solidarity, and we can only build it when there is trust and open communication.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that, Lem. I guess let's move on to Robin's case. For Robin's case, I don't think it's well, it's for you to judge and decide on that. Kasi he did say naman in our meeting that he's on his right path naman na. Parang wala na siyang issues. Parang he just had that realization na the reason why he has that flight response whenever he encounters some challenges is that he blocks himself or boxes himself and moves out of the situation. And right now it's still happening, but it's a work in progress. He keeps on constantly reminding himself na no, aalis ka na naman. It's not gonna do you any good. So, do you think he's really on the right path of things, or should he do more?
I guess actually nakakatuwa nga yung episode niya, eh. I was laughing because she was so light to talk to, no? And at times I feel na parang ano nga, eh,
Inuman
I
lang.
feel as if, oo, parang inuman, sabi ko nga parang I'm part of, this is supposed to be a two-way, two-person conversation, but uh, ako on the other hand, sabi ko parang, I feel like I'm part of this tree. I just don't speak up, but I just listen, and I find comfortable when they talk, na parang normal na tatlong magkakaibigan na yung isang hindi nagsasalita pero nakikinig lang. No, but yeah, going back to what you said, to your question, um it's always difficult to say whether a person is already on the way to recovery or on the way to being a better person, a better version of him or herself. No, but the thing is, some people kasi are outcomes oriented, eh. Diba? We all are always, some people are always looking at the goal. um, they tend to forget that aside from outcomes, we also have to be process oriented. That we also have to look into the things we do for us to be able to achieve our goals, no, or our desired outcomes. And for Roven, I think she has to continue what she has been doing before, because again, it matters na nandun yung intentionality mo to help yourself out. So if there is the intentionality, you could proceed. And at times, it's also important na you also assess your situation. Where am I at right now? Am I becoming better? Am I, feeling better about myself? Am I, lessening the usual response I have, towards other people? Yon.
Pero do you think it's because it started when he was speaking with a financial advisor, and in that in that session, the financial advisor parang did a five whys, try to get the root cause of him establishing his financial freedom. Parang ang naging final why is because he didn't process when he was a kid, when he was told na ampon lang siya. So do you think that's really the cause as to why he has that behavior now whenever he encounters, actually kahit nga wala pang manifestation eh, pag nagkaroon lang siya ng konting idea na things are not turning out well for him or will not turn out well for him, iiwanan na niya agad. So do you think that's a possible reason or cause as to why he's like that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a possible reason. We can explain, yun nga yung parang overarching concept sa narrative ni Robin, that she has made herself like that, no? Parang she has made uh her response like that in certain situations, because probably in the past she na-experience na rin yun. Parang na-internalize niya, kaya ginagawa niya rin sa ibang tao, di ba? Parang yun yung idea. But one thing for sure is whatever happened when we are a child, no, it deeply scars us, no. That's why probably yung actually it's not just that the abandonment issues that I'm seeing, it's the trust issues too that I am seeing from her narrative na the abandonment was the trigger, and the consequences was the issues, the trust issues, no. And it made her respond to certain personal relationships, or even other forms of relationships she builds to other people or to groups, no. um Probably because of that instance or event, she had wired her brain to respond to such, na parang ito yung naging coping mechanism niya. But the thing here is that somehow we are going to ask, is this coping mechanism productive or counterproductive for me? No?
Okay, kasi right now, he says that okay na siya. He doesn't have this need to um, talk to his biological parents as to why he was adopted. Um, and he has that clear path naman na, you know, okay na siya and he's willing to give himself fully to his family without any bitterness na kasi sinabi niya na the reason why he was not supporting before kasi parang pinampun niyo ako ba't ko kayo kailangan tulungan? So ngayon, okay na siya. Do you think that's a right way to go, or do you think there's still a need for him to talk to his biological parents about it and process things?
Mm, yeah. Ang problem kasi pagka ganyan, possible kasi na may mga ma-open na new wounds, 'di ba? Yung or if not new wounds, ma-open naman yung mga traumatic experiences before, no? But the thing is, if it's still not clear, no, she could still decide to talk it out with her biological parents, as long as it's not going to be parang confrontation, not on her part, but from her family too. Kasi kailangan din nating tignan, if I ask to have a discussion with these people, how will they respond? No, are they going to treat it as parang a form of parang may tawag doon, nakalimutan ko, nasa dulo ng dila ko. Yung tipong parang um,
Confrontational, putting them on
parang
the
some
spot.
sort, yes, yun, putting them on the spot. Like, we, parang baka ma-feel nila. Kasi, probably kasi, hindi yun yung intention ni Robin. Pero ang tingin naman na intention ng biological family niya is parang gusto niyang balikan ang mga nangyari and all. But we don't have any control over that. We don't have control on how they are going to react on such. But we could give them um, signs, pieces, and I think if it would help Robin's situation to understand her case. It's good. It's good that she connect with her family. But if it's going to open more questions or ask more questions rather, siguro it's safe to say na she have already developed the right parang not really the right. She have developed the idea, no, or perceived level of acceptance to that past.
Okay. So kung wala naman ng negative percussion yun or repercussion, then he's good now without reaching out.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
All right. So you know, with Una's and Ruben's case, are these you know, textbook cases, or do you see this a lot?
To be honest, discussing the development of disorders, understanding dysfunction sa graduate school, you would clearly say na these are common. These are common issues of people, no? Of course, yung mga severe symptoms, um, tawag dito parang hindi siya controlled pero parang na few people, I wouldn't say parang ano nga siya, paradoxical Um, sabihin na lang natin ganito. I'll put it this into this context. What they are experiencing are what we call as maladaptive behavior or response. to what is happening at their lives at the moment, no? And if we don't do something about it, we might be able to develop risks or tendencies to develop symptoms of clinical disorders, the least symptoms. But if worst comes to worst, we might be diagnosed with mental or clinical disorders per se. But ang nakikita ko dito from the narrative of uh, Una is that yes, she is self-aware, no? Mataas yung level of self-awareness niya, and that's good. But what I'm looking from her situation, coming from siguro just a conceptualization of her concern or issue, she might be having difficulties regulating her emotions and her thoughts. Because I do think that she's capable of helping herself out. The problem here is that at times she finds it unbearable, no? She finds her emotions or thoughts unbearable, no? Na it stops her from thinking the other way around, no? Kumbaga parang kapag ka nagsimula na yung episode niya, nananatili siya for a long period of time in that bubble. For Ruben, I'd like to note your analysis. Grabe naman, ang lalim naman ng analysis. Parang ano lang, insight, yon. Insight about Ruben. Na yun, may high sense of self-awareness din sa Robin eh. Pero yung sinabi mo nga, is it with regards to implementing, no? Or the implementation of such? Um, kasi sa totoo lang, honestly, it's difficult to really implement if ano ito, if we are not prepared, no, for the things to come. If we're unconscious about it, but if we're conscious about it, like first per se intervention or going to treatment, no, kasi kapag ka lalapit ka kasi sa counselor or therapist, sasabihin sa oh, ito yung mga gagawin natin, these are the sessions, these are what we're going to try to work on, no. But if we're going to focus on a non, no, clinical intervention, um parang andun kasi yung sasabihin nating idea of relapse, 'di ba? Parang again babalik tayo sa idea, kalaban natin yung sarili natin eh. Yung tipong akala mo okay yung ginagawa mo pero there's a feeling na hindi pala, no? And then when you come to someone, hindi pala, no? The thing here is that what I think Robin is trying to work trying to what Robin, no, could focus on is building her ano ito? Her building a concrete plan. Ayun. Building an organized way of resolving, no, things, a resolution. Kasi it's more of intrapersonal eh. Yung where she's coming from what I've heard. It's more of intrapersonal. So she has to devise ways on how to soothe, no? And I think the core, if you're going to look at the narrative of Una and Robin, is that their concern stems out from relationships with other people and the workplace. And it says something about how they develop perception about themselves, self-image, self-esteem. Yeah.
All right, Lem, unfortunately, we're out of time, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to hear more about these things. And of course, you mentioned earlier about resources, free consultations, and counsel sessions that they can take advantage of. So I'll just put that in the description below. I'll just reach out to you for those information. Um, Again, thank you so much, Lem, for your time and for sharing your thoughts on this. I'm really happy that we did this, and I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate to those. But again, this video is just for us to interpret and just weigh on things on how what Una and Robin had gone through and going through. But we still recommend that for those people who are going through things to seek proper help if needed, and like what Len mentioned earlier, to always have your support structure around you to help you go through these things. So again, Lem, thank you so much.
Thank you too.
You just watched an episode of Chef Circle. Share this episode to anyone you think would benefit from what we've covered today. Thanks for watching.